Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a water pump change on one of these Mercury 115 4-strokes. This is a relatively newer motor, and another thing is too, this is a 25-inch shaft, so it's an XL, but the only thing it's going to be different is just have a longer shaft. And we're doing it on this tracker boat, which is pretty nice looking boat. But we're going to get right into this and change out the water pump. If you guys like the video, please drop a like and comment down below and subscribe so you see more further footage in the future. So first thing I'm going to do is remove this little tail so we can get the water pump out. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys a couple things that we got to remove the lower unit. So normally there's a black grommet right here. So we're going to have to remove that because it's a very long bolt that's going to be connected to this anode. So this anode is going to come out, and there's going to be a bolt underneath that anode as well. And then there's 2 nuts on each side, so 4 in total with the washers. We're going to remove all of those. And also the engine's in neutral right now, so we're going to shift this thing in forward. So we shift this into forward. The reason we do that is because when we take the lower unit off and go to reassemble, it makes it a lot easier to make everything line up when the engine is in gear. So now you can see here, we're locked in forward. First thing we're going to remove though is going to be the very long bolt that's connected to the anode. So once you break the anode loose and get it out, the bolt will stay in here. You don't actually take out the bolt, so just leave the bolt laying in there when you go to reassemble the anode back into the lower unit. With the anode out now we can see the bolt that's located under here. So we have to remove that in order to drop the lower unit as well. A lot of people miss that bolt and don't know it's there, and then they start smacking their lower unit, and of course it won't ever come out. So now that we got this bolt out, it's a pretty long one because again, I'm doing this on a 25-inch shaft. If you're doing a normal 20-inch, it's not going to be exactly this long. So pretty much all we got to do left now is break loose all 4 nuts on each side, so 2 on each side, and then pretty much the loader unit's going to drop. So we're going to speed through this and get these bolts out, or nuts out, and get the loader unit off. So the loader unit's ready to come off, so just support the lower unit with your leg and then just give it a couple love taps and you'll see it start separating. You can also use a little screwdriver or a flat blade screwdriver to split it if you really need to, but this one looks like I just had to give a couple love taps and then it wants to drop. Okay, so now we obviously got the lower unit off, so basically we're going to get up in the jig and get the water pump removed. So we're going to be removing all these 4 bolts on here and doing a water pump change on it. So let's get it done. Okay, so first things first, we're going to just remove this water guide. So when you go reinstall, that guide helps you line up to the water pickup tube. And right here, I'm just going to remove this grommet, which basically just keeps any sand and any junk from getting into the water pump housing. So remove both of these. Okay, so all we gotta do now is remove these 4 bolts on the water pump housing, and then we will get to the water pump. Okay, now that I got the housing off, you can obviously see here is the old water pump. Now, this is really important to keep in mind when you're doing this because sometimes you don't always have to do the whole kit when you're replacing a water pump. So, many things you want to be checking is if there's any high spots or any cutout grooves inside the housing here, because that can suck in air and create, overheating in the water pump. And the same thing we want to check is on the faceplate. But first, let me just pull this Woodruff key off. This is the Woodruff key that aligns the impeller. The same thing here. You want to see if there's any grooves or any scratching going on, because if there is, you do want to replace it. If there's not, you can get away with just replacing just an impeller. So for this guy's particular engine, I don't see anything crazy, so I think we can get away with just doing the impeller. So here's the part number for it. So we're just going to replace just the impeller on this for this guy and get it all reinstalled. And just so you guys can see the difference, here's the old one and then the new impeller. You see he had a little bit of setting going on, but not too bad. So So I like using Mercury's 2,4-C grease. We're going to put a tiny little dab on the woodruff key because that's going to help keep it onto the drive shaft and make sure it doesn't fall off when we're trying to put on the impeller. You don't need a lot. It's literally just a little dab just to make it stick. So pretty much on every single water pump, there's a cutout groove right here on the impeller. That's right where the woodruff key locks in, and that's what keeps the impeller from spinning on its own on the drive shaft. So that way it's spinning with the drive shaft compared to just not spinning on its own. What I also like to do is put a tiny bit of dab of 2,4-C grease in the housing, and that way it's just so the impeller slides on really easily when we go to install it. It's also so it doesn't dry start on a first startup. So just put the tiniest little dab of grease in here. It'll burn right out the second this engine runs. It's just enough to make that impeller go on to into this housing a lot easier. So all you gotta do to get this impeller into the housing is you push down and spin the drive shaft clockwise, and the impeller will slide right into the housing. And then just throw a tiny bit of grease onto the screws for the housing. It just makes it easier for next time when you go to do this. Once you tighten down all the bolts, I just go to snug foot-pounds, and the water pump will be fine. I'm not sure why, but I apologize. I lost some of the footage of me finishing this part. So you just want to make sure you get the water tube back on there, the water guide, the grommet, and then also grease the drive shaft and the shift shaft. Just makes your life easier when going and reinstalling it. What we're also going to do is you take a little wire brush. You can see all this corrosion build up. We're going to clean up all the threads here to make our life a lot easier. We're also going to throw a dab of grease on each of the threads, again, to make it easier for us when we go to do this water pump again in the next 3 years, or 2 to 3 years, whatever you decide to do it. So obviously we're installing the lower unit. This is why we keep the engine in forward. So once you get everything lined up, you can spin the prop counterclockwise until everything wants to line up. You might be here, a couple minutes trying to get it to line up, especially on this one. This was a 25-inch shaft, so it was a little bit harder. But once you make sure your water tube is lined up, your shift shaft's lined up, give it that little turn, and the drive shaft should lock in. And then after that, you can throw on one of the nuts, and that way it'll be a lot easier for you to get on the rest of them. Okay, since now we got that nut tightened down, what I like to do is do a drive shift. So right now, obviously, we were in forward, so I have a helper. He's going to help me show you guys quick. So I'm going to have him shift into neutral. So if you give the prop a little bit of spin, so you shift into neutral, it should spin freely. And then as you're spinning it, you should be able to shift in reverse, which I just had him do right here. So I'm in reverse now. And now we're back into neutral. And then we lock back into forward. So now we know that the shift shaft is lined up and everything. So now we can continue installing all the rest of the bolts and nuts.
Yeah, see, like just filming that little bit of time, dude, I'm already at 36%. I was at 100% when I first started. So that's why I constantly turn it off. I mean, they can. Honestly, they say the iPhone's like one of the best things to record on. The only problem I had was doing in the videos, which I know there's a way to do it, to change the format. I don't know, I just can't seem to figure out like what YouTube's for. Well, I know YouTube's format, but I don't know how to do it. It's Apple. You have to change it Apple.
So we're pretty much at the home stretch here now. All we're going to do now is hook it up with some water, fire up the engine, and make sure everything works. So we got ourselves a really good solid flow of water coming out. Things you want to keep looked out for is like any sputtering or any like intermittent waters, like sputtering water. That would tell you if you like missed it or like missed the water guide or something like that. It's kind of hard to do on these 4-strokes, but it is possible. What I'm going to do now is shift the engine into forward, and then neutral, and then reverse, just to make sure everything is working correctly. That's pretty much all you need to know how to do a water pump on these engines. So down here I just want to show you guys, so maybe you guys can look at your own engines, but this was the serial number, so it's 115 EXL PT. So it's an XL shaft, which is a 25-inch shaft. It's the same thing for a 20-inch shaft, but I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera or not. But here's the engine serial number. If you guys can make it out, if that helps you. But I'm pretty sure these are the same for like the 90s and the 115s. I think even the 150s are similar as these, but if anybody wants to fact check me down below, please let me know. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please drop a like and comment down below if there's any questions you had. Maybe I missed something I didn't get to show you guys. Please subscribe too, so you guys don't miss any further content in the future. I'm going to have a lot of videos for you guys of how to do this stuff so you can do it on your own instead of bringing it to like a shop, kind of like how we have it here. So again, drop a like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.